Cool. Cool. That's good to know. All right. So now it's time around 7:40. I said we're gonna have a discussion, a co-host. So if Betrayed to Unfazed is in a room, I'm going to see her in this room right now. Yeah, it looks like she's here. Cool. Let's see if she comes on here and we can have a chat. All right. Do you want to actually? Hey, good morning, Betrayed to Unfazed. I actually want to put you on a co-host screen. So let's do that. If you give me a moment. Okay.
I couldn't figure out how to do this on my live last night. It's so tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So this is actually the first time I've put someone on my live. So where am I clicking?
I think if you, what was it last night? You go into, there's a setting on the, I think it's on the 2-person bit on the right-hand side.
Okay,
But it doesn't matter. I'm happy to stay small. If
Yeah?
if it's
cool.
so tricky, it's not easy to find.
All right, awesome. Because I can see your setup in your in your content. So all right, cool. I'll figure it out later. Anyway, yeah, welcome to the show, Betrayed to Unfazed.
Good morning.
All right, so obviously it's in her title, the name Betrayed to Unfazed. So she has a story there and she's obviously been through something. And I like to have conversations with people who seem like they've done some sort of work, like they've been through something in their life where they've had to rebuild themselves back up. They've had to process things and it shows in their character and it shows how it shows in the way she shows up. So yeah, I appreciate you, Betrayed to Unfazed. So let's talk about it. Let's start there.
Do you want to start with your topic? What we was?
Yeah. Well, the topic is, how do you build from being betrayed? After betrayal, how have you come back to, knowing thyself? How much have you grown from it? How much of it is still there, and how much of it is in the past, let it go kind of thing? Where are you at?
I'm only 7 months in, but I'm quite a reflective person. And I think the earlier you can start reflecting and growing, the stronger you're going to become. And if you start the journey as early as possible. So yeah, Betrayed to Unfazed really starts from a point from me where I was betrayed by my husband for 7 years. We lived in a different part of the world and I packed up in 24 hours and I knew my worth. But really, I think your journey begins with the processes and the emotions that you feel. And a lot of times people get stuck in this position and moving on. And how do you move through that and all of that? So I've got a couple of points on the growth. And I think the first one really is when you're starting to reflect on your entirety of your relationship. I mean, my relationship was an 18-year one. There's accountability on your part as the betrayed. What do I mean by that? Well, I describe myself as a high value woman. So I have certain expectations, and not just expectations that are far beyond, but I'm talking about, my values, my ethics, all of those things that you hold close and dear to you. And over the course of that relationship, I devalued myself because I made sacrifices and I tolerated bare minimum in certain situations. So there's an accountability that you have to look within yourself to see where change and growth can come from. Further on to that, where I'm talking about getting stuck, that's a choice. That is a choice. You can choose to stay in that fixed position or you can choose to move through it, So I talk a lot about this with Remembering You as well. The sacrifices and how we get stuck. It can make you bitter. It's not about that. It's about moving through everything, but positively, because we spoke about it the other day in one of your lives. Looking within yourself, you speak about that quite often.
Right, absolutely. So how can you, someone in your position, someone who has been through the type of betrayal that you say you've experienced, how can someone go from being bitter to being better?
I think it all starts with knowing your worth. So I talk quite a lot about know yourself, know your worth, love yourself. Okay. The healing journey restores your value. It restores it. You've always been a high value person. What do I mean by all these things that I'm chucking out there? Knowing yourself, knowing everything you stand for, your values, your ethics, your respect, your morals, your expectations. Knowing your worth, your high value, you bring clarity, direction, boundaries, consistency. You're going to align yourself through the healing journey, through that process with other high value people. 100%. That you're not going to accept the bare minimum. You're not going to tolerate less than going forward. And loving yourself for who you are. Don't change no one but yourself, you know? That's where the growth and the shift comes from. Low value sits within low value. They can't match up to the level. So don't allow it, you know?
Right. Okay. I hear you. All right. So if you were to ask a question about what a man would be thinking, something that could maybe help you in what you're still processing and what you've clearly grown through. You've gone through, but you've also grown through it as well, which is very important. A lot of women get stuck in the bitterness, and you've clearly got better. So congratulations to you, because that is, a big part of the journey. Now, being better, what would you say is, what would you, okay, what would you ask if you wanted to know what he thinks, the type of man you're actually attracted to? I'm not saying like you have to find him right now. You have to find him in the world, and you're ready to do that type of attraction work. But like, what would you want to know about what he thinks? Capital He.
I think it's difficult to want to know what someone thinks.
Right.
I think I say this a lot again. If I'm not in a position where I'm ready to explore and find another man respectfully. I know in time I will. And I think what I would be saying is I'd want to, again, align myself with that high value. So I'd want to be knowing that there's clarity in what they're going to offer and bring, that instills the direction of travel, like what's happening, and the reason why I've come to these 4 things around the boundaries as well and the consistency, it comes from reflecting back on the 18-year relationship. In the first 1 to 2, what do you want out of life? I knew that I wanted to get married one day and have children one day, not 2 days, but one day. 2 to 4 years, I'm now got all the feels for that person, so I'm well invested, but they still don't know what they want. Okay, it's almost like the carrot is dangled and the false hope is there, the whole way. So I'd want to know that the thoughts align with the direction of travel, and it's about open communication and being clear. It was open communication on my part, but not from his side. And then getting ready to save to move up and move out. And it's like, well, I can't possibly put this money aside, because I'm going to lose my social life and all this. And then you start almost negotiating, like, well, you either want your own space or you carry on living with your parents, And then once you moved into the house, you're out of the house more than you're in it. It's a constant avoidance, a constant thing around commitment, and it's about recognizing them things. You're devaluing yourself in the process the whole way along because you're holding out. Also, like aligning to the fact of that direction theme again, and trying to stepping in and getting that clarity. So just wanting to know how you're thinking, what's going on, where's this heading, the direction. Pulling in 2 years of living together, but 7 years together in the relationship. Where's this going? Like, I still want children and I want marriage, but from his side of things, I'm not sure about marriage, but I do want children.
Right.
That's the idea of a value that's important to you around marriage to accommodate this, lack of direction in the relationship. Then you get married, then you're on your knees proposing, and it's a bit confusing, you see. So then you then go and look at bridal fairs, but it's like, well, I thought we could have a child first. And it's like, well, you either want to get married or you don't. So it's a constant thought. I think for me, definitely, I know I will trust again. And I think for me, it's the thoughts that I want to know for the next person that I have in my life, they're going to be aligned with that high value. We've got to be on the same page.
Okay, cool. Can you've touched on high value quite a few times. What would you define as a high value woman in your opinion,
In my
from your
opinion,
perspective? Yeah.
a high value woman is someone that doesn't accept the bare minimum. And what I mean by the bare minimum is like, you come to the table and you're there with me. We're doing this together. You're a team. Yeah. It's a team or nothing. You can meet my emotional needs. What does that mean? How you doing? Checking in with your partner. Providing the clarity around what's going on for you in your life, and the direction of travel of the relationship, and just day to day boundaries. Like we said about the other day in your live, male friends, female friends, there's got to be a boundary there, because, and I take accountability there as well, because where my emotional needs weren't being met, I had male friends that were meeting some of that emotional need, but it wasn't for lack of me communicating. Does that make sense?
I'm
So
hearing
you're
you.
going to draw yourself, and that's the focus should be within your marriages, within your partnerships. That's the only man or woman really that you should be able to focus
Okay.
that
Okay.
on,
I hear you. Okay,
and
cool.
providing all of that consistently, you
Uh-huh.
know.
Uh-huh. All right. So consistency. Consistency, I believe, is a big reason why relationships stay, why people in a relationship are able to grow together, because they're consistently doing the work with each other together. Most people who grow apart because they're doing the growth work apart. They're experiencing experiences away from each other, and going through these growth experiences, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, not knowing, they're doing this and they're growing apart and wondering why they feel like roommates, wondering why they're asking questions like, where's this going?
Mm.
Why, like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? What did we actually want? What do you remember why you got together in the first place? So I think most people aren't asking the question of why they've got together in the first place. And so the betrayal, I think, is a path of least resistance for someone who doesn't want to do the work on themselves. Okay. So that is where it's them, right? But
100%.
then I believe the only way to grow is to look where it's us in the situation where it's them. Where is it me where I believe it's him and I know it's him? He did this. It was him. He hurt me. Okay, yes, it's true. But then because you experience that man within you, you have to understand that the healing work that gets to be done, obviously you've done some of it, most of it, I believe. But then it's like, if you are really ready to love again, it's because you've completely processed everything you've experienced up until now. You've processed it, and you've moved on, and you've grown from it, created new standards, and you're set with those standards. And now you're attracting the next new version.
100%. I mean, remembering you's just put, or one is growing and one is happy, staying put. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And also, it does. Somebody else just said above, it boils down to the emotional intelligence. I think I could never have predicted where my partner's concerned that he was doing all this nonsense in the background. And I take accountability also, because I shut down and I mirrored the behaviour for 2 years.
Right.
But I've also got to a point, David, where I had shut down because I'd communicated. Communicated, and I was exhausted with that process. There wasn't any other avenue, and obviously because of where I was in the world, it was so isolating, really isolating, a small place, and not like the UK. So yeah, I think there is that part, like, you've got to want to do the work. You've both got to be able to come to the table 100% with open communication, and you've got to do it consistently to keep that alive. You say quite a lot about keeping the passion, keeping the attraction. The attraction and the passion wasn't the issue. I mean, obviously the issue was that he was behind the scenes with this other person, but you know, like recognize the signs as well. Like if something ain't right, like hone into that, your gut instincts, like you feel you speak about the energy changing as well. Come on now, everyone knows the energy when that shifts, when that changes, and something doesn't feel right. And
Yeah.
you need to address it. You need to address
Right.
it, keep it alive.
Right. So would you say that in those 6 or 7 years you felt like you were going through it? Or in fact you didn't actually know, if I'm right. You didn't actually know it was happening for a while, right?
No, I mean the
And then
affair.
you found out.
Yeah, the affair itself started, it turns out, when our baby was 5 months old. We was in the UK at this point, and we didn't know until the October that we was leaving the UK to go to this part of the world for his job.
Right.
Then we left in the March 2020 to go where he was, but he'd started sleeping with this person in the January, and yeah, I didn't know anything about it, but I can see the discourse of the relationship. You know, I can see from the moment we got out there, the guilt had clearly eaten him up, and the dismantling of that marriage as the years went on, and then towards the end, in the previous October just gone, in the October, November, the depression stint came. So I rallied round my man. I did absolutely everything. I got him Lego for his brain to do. I really stepped into my role as wife and thought, you know what, I've got to step up here because, I've mirrored the behaviour now. Like clearly something, what you say about, your man will bounce off that, feed that, all that. I really stepped up, but I could never have predicted, obviously, what was happening behind the scenes. I didn't have no awareness of it. So know that just sometimes there is nothing you can do, but there is a recognition in how the behaviour changes, and it wasn't myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
hear you.
yeah,
I
it
hear you.
wasn't
But let me let
myself.
me let me ask this. Like when you saw the signals, he was giving you the signals and the signposts along those years since you had a baby at 5 months, right? He was giving you signals, and you said you didn't trust your gut.
Yeah.
Why didn't you trust your gut? Why was your intuition not enough? Why did you not say something then, the first time you saw the signal?
Do you know what? It is a really good question, and we spoke about this, myself and Remembering You, last night on our live, and I think a lot of it is denial, and actually there's so much of this character that
Right.
the other person builds up that you just would
Right.
never, if you look at the pair of us together, I'm the
Mhm.
more, he's the introvert and I'm the extrovert. So no one would ever look in on that. And I think it does fall down to this. I spoke about it the other day, where I feel like I was a bit like a trophy wife, because they want the high value and they know
Right.
they're low value. So the picture perfect situation reflects. So,
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, they draw from your character, and that's why they've
So you think
created.
most of it was a performance?
I think absolutely 100%, and I think that's the gut punch, really.
Right.
You
So how
know,
do you get into another relationship once you've healed, once you're ready, once you're attracting the type of man that you deserve and believe you deserve? How would you say you would be different in this way? Because you can only heal from a relationship by being in another. You can heal alone from what happened. Once you create the new standards, you now need to experience them, right? So when you go into that next relationship, whenever you're ready, you will experience situations that arise, signals that arise. How do you treat them differently?
shut it down. Communicate first and foremost.
Right. And by shut down, what do you mean? Shut it down. What do you mean?
Shut it down, like, as in, like, I won't be tolerating none of that nonsense going forward. Do you know what I mean? Like, I will. You reevaluate what the worth is. Like, I think as you're going through in your relationship, it's about having those continual reflections. Is this
Right.
working for me? Is this
Right.
not?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I
And
hear you.
bringing to the table, like having that open communication with your partner, making sure you're clear and on the same page, and meeting each other at the same, at that same table. Do you know? Like
The
making
same
sure.
page, meeting each other at that same table. I have this belief that women, feminine women who are being high value, always looking for how they can multiply what their man is giving them. And the man is always looking at what is she going to how is she going to multiply what I'm giving her? Will she multiply my bank account, for example? Will she multiply my my love, my expression, my ability to provide and protect? Will she multiply that? Will she try to speak life into me as a man? I think a lot of the times women, when they do the self-growth work and the healing work, they heal without him in mind. Meaning without him, the capital HIM, the man you actually want in a relationship, the way you want to be treated. Without him in mind, meaning she decides, here's what I want, here's me, this is best for me, taking this course of action is best for me, I'm first, me, as she does the growth work. High value as a woman is actually in a more submissive way, would you say? Would you agree with that or not? Would you agree that submission
I think it can be
closest to the highest version of a woman?
Yeah, in terms of some of the sacrifices that you make, especially because I was a career woman, so
right.
I aligned and I stepped up and did my duty, shall we say. Yep, because this is important for our aspirations and growing as a family, for everything that we want to build. Absolutely, I'll forfeit my career. I'll do all the cooking, the cleaning. And I took to that, like, it doesn't matter what job you give me. This is for my family, for my husband's going out and he's putting the meals on the table, he's doing all of that, and I want to cook. And do you know what? I stepped into that even further because I'm not a baker, okay? But the skills in which I learned and the food, my yummy food, I really honed in on them skills and settled into that role. Right. So yeah, and do you know what? I will say there is a massive part of submission, because if that man is meeting all of your emotional needs and you're going to come to the table and you're going to, like, I'll rub your feet or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you'll do all of that for your partner.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, this has been a very cool conversation. Obviously, it's kind of free flowing, and we started on the topic of, betrayal and how your personal story, how other people might resonate with what you went through, and not shutting down the signals and signposts as and when they arise, not addressing the disrespect, things like that. Okay, cool, great, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you. We've had a 20-minute conversation now. So if you'd like to let the people in the chat know where they can find more about you and, what you've got going on at the moment.
Yeah, so...
and your name.
Oh, I don't say my name, but it's Betrayed to Unfazed.
Okay, cool. Yeah? That's fine.
So Betrayed to Unfazed, I want to help and support people. It's a peer support avenue we're going down. I'm not a counsellor or a therapist, but, if you've been betrayed and you feel alone, loneliness, you're stuck in it, don't be stuck. We've been betrayed. Let's not let it be the making of us and change us for the worst. Let's move through the processes and actually become unfazed. That is ultimately what this is about. We bring authenticity, remembering you and myself have got lives going, a couple of topic of the weeks that we do, and we discuss real raw realities around this. So yeah. Just a little follow, and cool. I've loved this. I think it's really interesting, and what I love is so important. Different perspectives, because I know you and I don't always agree on things, but I love the facts of some of your points because they hold value in themselves. You have to. I leave thinking about different views.
Right.
Challenge the opinion and not the person. Right?
I hear you. All right. I appreciate you, Betrayed to Unfazed. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And those of you who just heard what she says, you can follow her on her TikTok. She has got great content where she actually speaks in depth about this type of thing. So yeah, go give her a follow and we'll speak soon. Yes?
Thank you.
Awesome.
Love to the family. Have
Appreciate
a lovely day.
Thank you very much.